to another edition of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Happy Pride. Happy Pride. Happy Pride. Y'all know I love my LGBTQ plus folk. And, Indiana is so progressive in so many ways, contrary to popular belief, that we have not one, but two LGBTQ plus women representing us on the November ballot for Congress. Y'all give it up. Happy Pride, happy Pride. Y'all give it up for my girl, E. Thomasina Marcelli, who is running out of the 8th district, and my girl, Pat Hackett, who is running for Congress out of the 2nd district. I'm telling you what, I sent a tweet to the state party, and I said, who's going to tell Mike Pence that there's two lesbians on the ballot trying to get to Washington from Indiana? I'm begging that they let me do it. I want to do it. I want to be the one to tell them. I want to see the look on his face. Hey, also, y'all check it out. It is convention week. It is Democrat convention week. Visit our NDEM's website and find out about all the events that are happening. We're having our HH dinner tomorrow night. Yo, all the caucuses are going to be hanging out at 7:30. Yours truly will be emceeing the joint. You know what I'm saying? We got to bring the party and bring the funk, right? So there's a lot going on, with a positive energy that is happening in our party. In our party, there's positive energy because we actually know how much we need that positive energy. We have seen the impact of protest politics and how protest politics is creating the mechanism for policy changes. But just like the House was able to write and pass police reform legislation, guess what happened? It stopped at the Senate. They're not nearly as interested when that majority on that other side is not nearly interested in what the vast majority of Americans are talking about. So that is why it is so important that our protest politics, which I am so for. If I wasn't a high risk blood thinner taking person, and we see people be running their cars in the crowds, and special people need special help, so I have to stay home. But protest politics should lead to electoral politics, and that means making sure that when we are ready to make the changes in policy that we need, we have the right policy makers there. If you instead of just calling them politicians, think of them as policy makers. There's nothing in this country that we do that there's not a policy attached to it. And I say this, I try to break it down as simple as I can. You can't even buy a gallon of milk without policies attached to the carton, the lid on the carton, how much air can be in the milk, all of that. How many cows you can have in the barn to milk, all of that policy. So let's take this energy and this momentum we have, and let's go ahead and try to elect people that are looking out for our interests. For example, you know me, on Turn Left, I'm bringing you the funk. First up, I have our second Attorney General candidate out of Evansville. I've met him several times. First of all, I thought I had moxie. No. My moxie is minuscule. I ain't got it like this fella got. And I actually appreciate that. I like him strong. Jonathan Weinzapfel has more than 3 decades of experience serving our great state of Indiana in both the public and private sector. He began his public service work in 1990 as a legislative aide. We know that he's been the mayor of Evansville, but he's also worked with the university, the Ivy Tech. Right, Ivy Tech down in Evansville. So not only has he been a public servant, helping to create and craft and initiate laws and policies, he's actually been training and molding minds so that they can become policymakers in the future. Y'all give it up. Indiana's second candidate, Democrat candidate, running for Attorney General, my guy, Jonathan Weinzapfel out of Evansville, Mayor Jonathan Weinzapfel. How are you, sir?
Doing great. How are you this evening?
I'm fantastic. You actually dumped a bunch of energy on me. I'm gonna need you to keep it down for me so I don't like blow the speakers up.
Uh
Next
huh.
up, okay, so I went to Cass County right after I got out of the out of the hospital, and I still can't even say it. It was so traumatic for me. And I don't quite remember everything that happened at Cass. I hope that I gave a decent speech, and I certainly don't remember everybody that I met, but y'all, I am actually excited to see people from all over our state throwing their hat in the ring wanting to run for office. Y'all, give it up for Laura Fred Smith, who is running for our Indiana Senate in District 18. She is a lifelong resident of Cass County. She's been a public educator for 19 years. Y'all give a warm welcome to Laura from Cass County. What's going on, girl?
Hey,
That's right, Jonathan. You know what I'm saying? You came with the funk today, Jonathan. All right. You know what, Mr. Mayor, J Dub. What should I call you? Hopefully we'll be calling AG, but what should I call you? Other than
Jonathan, fine.
all right, just want to make sure because some people get caught up.
I, I answer to a lot of things, as you would guess.
That's what's up.
Not all of them good. But,
I know that one. I happens to me all the time. Happens to me all the time.
but the honorific title of mayor always sticks with you. So once a mayor, always a mayor. And I think being a chief executive of your community is probably the greatest honor that voters can bestow on anyone. So it's a tremendous opportunity to set an agenda, to build consensus, and to get things done. So,
well, tell the people who you are. And
Mayor Jonathan Works.
All right, Mayor Jonathan. Okay, I got cool funk. So, do you mind if I call you Mayor J Dub?
That's fine.
All right, Mayor. Tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Well, I grew up on a farm in Posey County, which is just west of Evansville.
Okay.
Been through there. Actually, my family still farms, probably about 650 acres there. Wow. But I went to high school in Evansville. Patricia and I raised our family there. So you talked about some of my resume, but believe it or not, I majored in chemistry at Indiana University.
All right.
In Bloomington.
Right,
it was a great place. My first job out of school was in pharmaceutical sales. Decided that really wasn't my thing, and I developed an interest in politics and government, and had the opportunity to go out to Washington, D.C. and work on Capitol Hill for then Congressman Frank McCluskey from the 8th District. And so that's kind of how I started learning my chops in politics. And actually, I moved back to Evansville to work for Old National Bank in 1993. And then Frank McCluskey lost his reelection campaign in 94.
Oh.
And as a young punk kid at the age of 30, decided I ought to run for Congress. And so came within 1.5% of knocking off an incumbent Republican congressman in 1996.
Okay.
And that led to the segue to the legislature. Spent 5 years in the legislature, 2 terms as mayor, 5.5 years as chancellor at Ivy Tech. Been in the legal practice for a while. People of Southwestern Indiana have blessed me with some great opportunities to be in a leadership position to serve them.
And I like the way you put that, sir, because that speaks volumes to how you view these public servant roles as a public servant versus, some people feel like they just should be anointed. I joked a minute ago about, your personality, but, you're not an arrogant man. You just have a big personality like me. I'm actually arrogant, and I know it. but I appreciate the fact that you value, right, the responsibility the folks in District 8 and Evansville have honored you with. So this is a leap though, because running for something in Evansville, running for Congress, running for a district in the state house. These are relatively small spaces. Now you're trying to talk to essentially 6 million people in the entire state. What made you make that leap?
Well, I'd been looking for an opportunity to get back involved in electoral politics. It's kind of my passion. I love that opportunity to serve, and so frankly, I saw this as what a great opportunity to make a difference. I mean, admittedly, you looked at Curtis Hill and all of his ethical transgressions.
Don't make me look.
Yeah, I know. But as you start paying attention and you look even deeper into his record and see what he's doing with regard to healthcare, trying to destroy healthcare, and basically he's successful throughout this country. And it seemed like it was an opportunity to run and serve. And what we've talked about is trying to restore honor, integrity, and purpose to the office. And wouldn't it be nice to have an AG that's actually looking out for Hoosier families instead of simply just devoted to serving their own narrow philosophical agenda, right?
Absolutely.
And, as mayor, I mean, that's all you do. And as the chief executive, as chancellor at Ivy Tech, I mean, you have to work with a lot of different people from a lot of different perspectives, Democrats, Republicans, independents, across the board, and you're held accountable.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what Hoosiers would like to see, is someone who gets stuff done. Especially, and I'm dominating the airways here, but especially in this time, with coronavirus, with George Floyd's murder, I think people are looking for leadership. They're looking for direction. They're looking for people who are going to seek input, try to build consensus, and move the ball forward.
Absolutely.
So that's what I hope to do as Attorney General.
And I think that's an amazing segue because, Laura, you're running for Senate. You're running for the Senate right now, and there are only 10 out of 50 Democrats in the Senate. Tell the people who you are and where you come from, because, you got a lot of work ahead of you too. Even if you win, when you win, I'm gonna change that. When you win,
when I win. So, okay, so I'm running from a space that hasn't had anybody run as a Democrat since at least 2008. So we've had 12 years of unopposed elections, at least 12 years of unopposed elections. So I have a lot of work and I need to let people know who I am. So thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I am not shy about telling people, and I think it's really important to my story, is to know that I was a teenage mother who grew up for a little while in a home with an abusive alcoholic. And that is not the typical background of, number one, a teacher, and number two, somebody who's running for a political office. But I think it's really important for people to know that that's my background, but I graduated high school in good standing. I went to college and I got a bachelor's degree. I have a master's degree. I've been successful. I've transcended where my, abusive alcoholic childhood was, my teenage motherhood was. And I think it's important for people to know that just because something happened or was happening is not where you stay, not where you were, not where you are. And that family helps you get there. And once you get success, you need to turn around and reach your hand down to help other people. And particularly in the time that we're living in, coronavirus, the unemployment issues that we're having, the struggle that we have for jobs and food and clean water and environmental pressures and protests, that people who make it because of family support or because they have a terrible personality that when you tell them they can't do something, they just prove you wrong and do it anyway. You need to be able to turn around and help other people out. And I think that my background helps me do that. I grew up in a union household. Every person in my family basically is a union member. I can build you a house as long as you don't want plumbing.
But somebody can do that though. See?
Somebody can read a book, watch a YouTube video. Everybody in my house.
Wait, don't come in my house learning how to do plumbing from YouTube. I'm gonna need you to go have an apprenticeship some daggone where.
Well, we'll find you somebody. Everybody, we're a construction trade family.
Yeah.
We probably know somebody.
You probably got somebody. You got a guy.
We probably got somebody.
Or a girl. So, Jonathan was just talking about a minute ago how it's so important to build a consensus to get things done. And one, you talked about, I mentioned earlier that you were a teacher, and your brief biography that you shared with me actually made me have a whole bunch of other questions. But I want to know how your personal experiences, along with some of your professional experiences, are going to help you navigate a state senate that has only 10 Democrats, knowing that the other side is not always so easy to negotiate.
Um, Anybody that's ever been okay. I have my original degree was in elementary education.
Mm-hmm.
My first teaching degree was to teach biology to zoology. So I, trial by fire. I had to basically learn biology 2 one overnight, go teach it the next day, learn it the next night, teach it the next day. And if you've ever had students in a classroom 15 through 18 and you had to learn something one day to teach them the next day, if you can do that, you can probably learn how to do pretty much anything. Okay. And if you can negotiate with a class of 8th graders and 50% of them don't speak English, wow, working with people who have a different political mindset than you can probably handle that.
I think so.
One of my, purple is my color up here, because I'm one of those people that believes that a government held by one political party is not a working government. That you need both sides, and our country was designed to have multiple sides, multiple opinions, because that's the way government works. We need both the red and the blue to make government work. So, my experience as a kid and as a teenager, and then having an elementary education, teaching high school, and then switching from high school to middle school to 43% of my school doesn't speak English or doesn't speak it well. I mean, I've had to learn multiple times how to transition and work with different groups of people to get where we need to go.
And of course, you're not saying that the Republicans are like children.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I know how to work with different people.
I was just being facetious.
Yeah.
And Jonathan, you actually kind of have the same concern, because you're trying to negotiate that with the voters. People always want to swear Indiana is so super red. I don't think Indiana is super red. In fact, like I said, we have two LGBTQ plus women running for Congress. We have 2 people of color running for Congress. We've got 4 women. I'm sorry, 3 people of color running for Congress. I think Indiana is way more diverse than that. But talk about how you've been able to, network through all these 92 counties because you have to talk to people who, don't necessarily see things the way you see them. So what have you been talking to them about?
Well, frankly, we spent a lot of time, first 3 months of this campaign, actually out in Indiana, traveling the state, visiting with people. And then, of course, with the coronavirus, I've been negotiating a statewide campaign from the sunroom of my house. So it's been a real challenge. So frankly, my outreach has been through Zoom calls like this. The political parties, the county chairs will set up these types of calls for their committeemen, for their delegates. I've spent a lot of time just calling delegates one-on-one and just having a personal conversation with them about who I am, what I'd like to do as Attorney General, and what do they see as the way forward? What are they interested in? And just really just kind of building relationships with Democrats throughout the state. I mean, that's kind of the first phase. And of course, once we get through the convention and we pivot to the general, it'll be hopefully getting out on the road and again, talking to Hoosiers from across the spectrum about how we can make this a more just and civil society, how we can create an opportunity for every Hoosier family. And especially in the time of coronavirus, it creates an environment where people they're worried, right? Mm-hmm. There's so much uncertainty out there. They're worried about their jobs. They're worried about holding on to their health care. They're concerned about a loved one who might be in a nursing home, and 50% of all the coronavirus deaths in Indiana are happening in a nursing home setting. is my nursing home safe?
Mm-hmm.
The one my parents are in safe? They're worried about school this next year, Laura, right? I mean, parents are concerned about the safety of the actual physical environment, but the kids that are falling behind because we've tried to, out of necessity, have tried to educate them virtually, right? When many don't even have access to the internet over the last several months.
Yes.
I mean, there's some real challenges facing this state, and I think voters are going to be focused on those bread and butter issues, and I think that gives us a great opportunity to share our values, share our vision about how we can make this a better state that creates opportunity for everybody.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me that Curtis Hill, knowing that African Americans, because he's African American, I guess we got to keep him. Um, as an African American, and he recognizes the health disparities in our community, is working so diligently and is spearheading in many cases the removal of the affordable health care from so many Hoosiers. If you get past convention on Saturday and you win the AG spot and you are Indiana's new attorney general, will you remain in this lawsuit, sir?
No, 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 no. The first thing we'll do is withdraw Indiana from Curtis Hill's lawsuit to find the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, unconstitutional. If he is successful with this, I mean, this will have real consequences for Hoosier families. There are approximately 2.6 million Hoosiers with some type of pre-existing condition. Okay, like diabetes, high blood pressure, a pregnancy constitutes a pre-existing condition. So, if Curtis Hill is successful and those safeguards are eliminated, insurers, once again, when people are on the open market trying to buy insurance, trying to obtain insurance for their families, insurers would be able to discriminate against those individuals and aren't required to offer them health insurance. I mean, you would have thought we got rid of that through the ACA. Why would you want to reinstate that policy?
Well,
in addition, there are 400,000 Hoosiers who received health care through the expansion of the Hoosier Indiana program, or Healthy Indiana program, right? Under then Governor Mike Pence. The expansion of Medicaid allowed and funded under the ACA. Presumably, if the ACA is found unconstitutional, these are folks that are going to lose their health care. How is that in the best interest of Hoosier families?
It's not.
Right. And so, I mean, the only thing I can guess is that, Curtis Hill he is involved Indiana in this national political battle over the ACA. And he's not thinking about the consequences on Hoosier families. Absolutely. And that's just flat out wrong.
Absolutely. And Laura, I know that healthcare has been like, we talk about it all the time. Healthcare has been like the biggest thing. And when you get to the Senate, after Jonathan has taken us out of that lawsuit, will you work with lawmakers to create a way to help bring down prescription drugs and make healthcare more affordable for Hoosiers, and look at counties that are struggling because they don't have adequate healthcare facilities?
Oh, yeah. One of the things that, like Eli Lilly, during this corona crisis, they made sure that diabetes medication was topped at $35. But the Indiana General Assembly didn't pass that law that wanted to top it at $50. So obviously it is something that can be done. Eli Lilly did it for $35. So obviously it can be done. The Indiana General Assembly decided, no, we don't want to do that. And then there was a bill for pregnant women, because Indiana has a terrible mortality rate for pregnant women and infants, particularly in low-income communities. And they did not pass that bill. They were going to study it in the summer, and now they decided, we don't really need to study that either. So not only is healthcare and insurance a problem, but the communities that they serve, not only for the insurance, but the mortality rates and motherhood mortality rates, like there's all of these other issues that need to be fixed outside of the ACA that seem no-brainers, but we just keep ignoring them. They're not, like, insurance companies are not the only problem. They're one of many that we can we can start addressing once we get the supermajority is no longer a thing. When we get more Democrats in the House and more Democrats in the Senate, we can start addressing some of these problems. Government does not work when there is a supermajority because they can railroad whatever policies they want.
And everybody knows that once you add a middleman, listen, I'm not trying to take away the insurance industry. If the insurance industry can make their money, make their money. But it seems like I should be able to purchase wholesale if I want, right? It seems like I should be able to purchase my healthcare wholesale. I should be able to go to my doctor or go to my hospital and say, okay, let's work out some arrangements. We ain't got a deal, because the middleman is driving up the cost. Why nobody really talks about that? Like, we don't want to destroy the insurance industry. Well, supply and demand. If and competition. I thought that's what this whole thing was all about. Talk to me, Laura.
Well, they obviously we have some of that already too, because you get the Good RX coupons that, you show up to Walgreens, you show your Good RX coupon, you get cheaper prescriptions. So we know that there's these policies and these programs that exist. We need to put them in other places, and we need to allow the laws to pass that allows those to go in other places. So we know they exist. I mean, if we didn't have supply and demand and capitalism in marketplaces the way they work, Amazon wouldn't make the money it makes, which that's a whole other issue that needs to be looked at.
Well, you know what? Since you brought up Amazon, I'm going to let both of y'all just kind of go at this one because it's so critical to pretty much everything we're talking about when it comes to healthcare, education. We'll get to education in a minute because I cannot have a teacher on the show and not talk about education. And I got 2 scientists on the show, so that's pretty exciting. Let's talk about these wages in Indiana. The fact that Indiana has had stagnant wages for almost 2 decades speaks to almost everything thus far that we've been talking. People can't make a decent living wage unless they have, a gazillion degrees. You shouldn't need a gazillion degrees to be successful. If you have a skill or a trade and you can market yourself, you should be able to be successful. Jonathan and Laura, I want you guys to talk about the importance of A, legislating fair wages, and then B, as the Attorney General and as the chief law enforcer of our state, how you look at and view wages in Indiana. Either one. Come with
Laura, I'll go ahead if you want. Otherwise, I'll jump in.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'll start with legislation, and then you can talk about the Attorney General side.
Sure.
So living wage and minimum wage, it's a complex issue, but it's really not, because we need to have living wages. So minimum wage, people think that minimum wage jobs are held by teenagers and that teenagers don't need to make $15 an hour. But studies show that the majority of people that are working in the fast food industry and making those minimum wage jobs are single mothers or single household families. And many of those are single household families of people of color. So we're talking about some of our minority families again. The other thing is that there's 30%, there was a study that said if you raise wages by even $1, you can decrease suicide rates by 30%. So we're talking education, we're talking poor families, we're talking families of minorities, and we're talking suicide rates. So there's all these other things that fall into wages. Now, small businesses are always afraid that if we raise minimum wage, then we're going to ruin small businesses. The last legislation that was, again, it didn't advance, called for an increase of steps of minimum wage. So you can step the increase. Now, there has been, you can look it up, there's all these studies about how minimum wage actually increases the prosperity of everyone in the area because, rising waters lift all boats kind of thing. And what we all need to understand is rising waters lift all boats, but not everybody's boat is the same. Right. Some people are in yachts. Some people are in kayaks, fishing boats. Some people are in inner tubes, Some people are floating on a log, basically. So even if rising waters lift all boats, we need to understand that some of those boats need more help than others. And minimum wage jobs are not just held by our teenagers. And we need to kind of get out of that mentality. And the other mentality that we need to get out of, and I think a lot of people still have, is I had to work for everything I got. I got a summer job and I paid for my college. Okay, but your college was $10,000 a year, not $40,000 a year. Just because something was really easy for you doesn't mean it's not easy for somebody else. You shouldn't look down on somebody unless you're putting your hand out to help them up. So minimum wage, that should be the minimum wage capable of giving somebody what they need to survive.
A living
In
wage.
my counties, it's $9.45 an hour, working a 40-hour week. That was like the study in my counties, but throughout Indiana, if you took the average Indiana wage, it's closer to $13 an hour. We need to look at what is the minimum acceptable wage for people to have the minimum basic needs, including health insurance, not just
and childcare, which we
not just food and water.
Yeah,
and childcare.
Jump in, Jonathan.
Yeah, two things. First, probably from a structural perspective with our economy, the fact that Indiana ranks 38th in the country with regard to college attainment, I think is probably one of the more definitive factors involved in limiting income. Companies that are looking to expand or relocate have to be able to find the talent pool that they need. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for a higher educated population to pay, to do the jobs that actually are going to be paid higher wages. And so, to the extent that we can increase our college attainment rates, that there are more Hoosiers with some type of degree, an associate's degree, bachelor's,
a plumbing certificate.
Those are, that's how we can structurally change our economy so we can attract companies and jobs that are higher tech that pay more.
Yes.
And so it's embarrassing of where we are from an educational standpoint. The second point I'd make, and this is more specific about what I could do as AG, and that is there are a lot, especially in the construction trades. I've heard from a lot of my friends about how you have contractors that are paying people under the table. They have employees, but they're actually treating them as independent contractors, 1099, so they're not paying taxes. There's an opportunity for the Attorney General to step in making sure that we are protecting those workers, that their employers are paying them what they're required to pay them, either via contract or by wage and hour law. And that's a step that I can take as Attorney General.
Man, that's pretty powerful. I mean, you hear the stories about the people getting paid under the table, but you would never think that they would actually tell the mayor of Evansville, the third largest city, about the pay, or someone who's running for attorney. That means it's just rampant, really, because if they're
what I'm hearing from our friends in the building trades who they go to job sites talking to folks doing commercial contracting work. And they're hearing the stories from people on the job site about how I was either handed cash under the table, or I have a 1099, so I'm treated as an independent contractor. Although the person I'm working for directs every single step that I make. 52 weeks a year.
See, that's why regulations are important. People act like, oh no, we just leave people up to their own device because everyone's just gonna do the right thing. Right. That's not how that works. Obviously, look at 45, the Orange Menace. Everybody ain't gonna just do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. All right, y'all, we gotta get to it because both of y'all, I think, are just ready, and I want y'all to be ready about this discussion. Let's talk about public education in the state of Indiana. Jonathan, you already hit on a key element, which is we are not sending our young people to post-secondary education, preparing them with the life skills that they need, right, to be productive and contributing members of our society. We have like these amazing colleges and universities, But we have this, and those that do get educated here, they leave. We have this brain drain, and it kind of ticks me off because I don't understand why they don't see this, right? Talk about what it means to protect and properly fund our public education and make sure our teachers like Laura are getting the wages and the salaries that they deserve to make sure they are molding the minds of our future.
Well, I in that vein, I'd like to make two observations. One, talk about some programs that I put together as chancellor of the Ivy Tech Evansville campus.
Okay.
One we called Pathways Plus, and what we wanted to do was set an expectation that every young person graduating from high school should also earn some type of college credential while they're still in high school. We have had teenagers who actually had earned their associate's degree before they actually earned their high school diploma, just by timing, because our semester ended earlier than their high school fall semester, or spring semester. But there's no reason why young people don't have that opportunity to earn their first year of college credit, mm-hmm. if they're going on to get a bachelor's degree, or to earn some type of technical skill and earn some type of certificate, whether that's in welding or a certified nursing assistant, technology, IT. I mean, there are great job opportunities, but you have to have a credential that's recognized in the workplace in order to be able to demonstrate that you can bring value to a potential employer. And of course, that also means you have a head start on college, and you can continue your education if you want to go on and get a bachelor's. But the key is making sure that these young people are prepared for either taking the next step to getting their bachelor's degree or being able to go into the workplace. And so that's incredibly important. And frankly, what's lacking is some appropriate financial incentives so that school districts can focus on this. It hasn't. Teachers and school districts are asked to do so many things that are good for kids, right? And frankly, the state of Indiana needs to put incentives behind it to make sure that school districts are incorporating these types of ideas. The second thing is, and this has just been a real disservice to public education and teachers in general. And Laura, I'm sure you can speak to this better than I can, but what I see is that the state of Indiana has completely devalued teachers. Mm-hmm. They've devalued education as a profession. You look at how they treat education policy, and it's as if it's a manufacturing assembly line, and that kids are simply just at another point on the assembly line, and that's not how education works. I mean, teachers are asked to do so much. I mean, you're working with kids that come from a background where maybe there's just one parent at home. They may not have had breakfast that morning. Maybe they have a parent who's illiterate, and you can't read to them at night. I mean, all that has a huge impact. And we're telling teachers, well, they have to be at a certain level. No, we ought to be able to reward teachers based on the progress that their students make. Right, in the classroom. And we have to elevate teaching so that we are attracting the best and brightest to the profession. And you don't do that when teachers have to work two jobs in order to make a living, right? That's just, it's incredibly backward what the state of Indiana has done with public education.
It is. Laura?
So I could talk about the problems of Indiana education for ever, but I'm going to focus on the testing culture of teachers and Indiana education. So one of the things that is my biggest pet peeve and my probably tallest soapbox that I can get on about Indiana testing is that the testing culture of Indiana education is controlled basically by one company. Now, this last legislative session, they did decide to decouple teachers' evaluations from student test scores, which is a huge win. But student test scores are still used to determine school letter grades. School letter grades then go to determine school funding. The tests that students take are designed by Pearson Testing Company, which makes the textbooks that students use, which makes the test that teachers take to get a teacher's license, which makes the textbooks that companies sell to teachers to become teachers. which, by the way, also runs charter schools that take money away from public schools, which I believe are also some of the charter schools that stole $60 million from
the virtual schools.
Yeah, some of them. Now, Pearson has public charter schools, but they own the testing company, they own the textbooks, they own the teacher tests. They basically own testing in Indiana, and we can.
It sounds like they own education in Indiana.
Yeah, they kind of do. Now, we can get other textbooks, but because Pearson has a printing house in Indiana, we get cheaper textbooks if we go down and pick them up ourselves, so we don't have to pay for shipping. So Pearson is
you're killing me, Smalls.
But they also have a lot of wrong information in their textbooks, which in their testing answer keys, the test answer keys for their textbook tests are wrong too. So I have an issue with that. But testing in general, like I said, I can talk about this for a long time. Testing in general doesn't tell me anything about the students I have when I have the students, because we test them in March and then we don't get that information. Say I have a kid, 7th grade test, the kid takes a 7th grader, takes the test in March. I may get information about that kid in December, maybe, but by then I already know everything I need to know about that kid. Like, I know if they speak English, I know if they have if their parents are home, I know if they are good at doing their homework, I know what their favorite color is, I know if they like science, I know about that kid. That test is not going to tell me anything that I didn't already figure out on my own. So we're spending all of this money testing kids when really we should just be talking to them. One of the things, it's really strange, but I do it all the time. And the first question I always ask my students to write about is, if they had any superhero power in the world, what would it be and why? Because then I learn about their personality. You know, kids that want to be strong are usually athletes, or they want to be strong to help people. Mm-hmm. Kids that want to be invisible are usually either the class clown or they're super shy. Like, I learn these things about these kids by what they tell me, and a test is never going to tell me that. Right. A test is not going to tell me if the kid saw gang violence in their country of El Salvador, skipped 3 years of school because they didn't feel safe, and then finally got to the United States, and now they're here, and we have to teach them how to read and learn English. Test isn't going to tell me that. I'm going to learn that by talking with the kid and getting to know the kid and getting to know the kid's family. Testing isn't going to tell me that. And we waste $70 million a year when that $70 million could go to a school counselor. Or it could pay some of these teachers, when Indiana is 51st in the nation for teacher pay increases.
And you know what's crazy? We're 51st. Now, I know what you did there, but we're 51st out of 50 states and a territory. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And we're 35th for overall pay in the United States. You know, we're 38th for overall happiness. We're 49th for environmental pollution. Only Louisiana is worse.
And they have oil spills down there. They have actual oil spills.
Yeah, this environment, they have Cancer Alley, actually.
Yeah.
We don't have Cancer Alley yet.
Well, I don't know. Evansville is Evansville has its issues. It has and I know the mayor can speak to this. They have 4 super polluters within a 30-mile radius of Evansville. And so I know you know firsthand, Attorney General. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'm sorry, I get excited. But Mr. Mayor, you know, these utility companies are trying to gouge the citizens because their revenues are down. Can you help me understand this one?
Well, you know, actually, I saw that Mayor Fishers made a public statement on that today. That I guess in his area, Duke and golly, I'm not quite sure who else. IPL maybe, but you know, obviously their energy use is down because of the coronavirus. Folks are staying at home. And so utilities are looking to make up the revenue they've lost. And I find it fascinating that they want to have a market economy for profits, but they want socialism for their losses, right?
Laura,
and,
tell them. This is crazy.
There are, like every other company, they have capital reserves, operating reserves, and they need to utilize those operating reserves to cover their losses, and which they will recover once the economy improves. Their bottom line will improve.
Absolutely. And the fact that these same companies, now listen, I remember I gave a speech down in Evansville once, and I happened to mention the utility company down there, and I recognized that my audience was like, because so many people work, right? They work for these companies, and I get that. But I still believe that these organizations have a responsibility to the communities where they employ people and where, they're getting their revenue, to make sure that they take care of the environment. You two are both scientists. And again, Evansville is one of those places that has those four super polluters, and just surrounding Evansville. Evansville can be toxic if things go bad. It's the same thing in Morgan County. They don't even have a hospital. One of my guests told me last couple weeks, they don't even have a hospital in Morgan County, but they got a cancer treatment center. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, these utility companies have got to, and then to see legislators in our state house writing legislation to say, no, we're sorry, utility companies. If you find that your coal burning utility company is no longer profitable and you want to close it down, you got to ask me first. What are we doing in the state house?
Dana, one of the, as we look at trying to make sure that Indiana is competitive from a business standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we want businesses to come here, set up shop, expand operations, employ people. 100%. We're fully supportive of that. But one of the key things is the cost of energy. Mm-hmm. And when the legislature is putting roadblocks in front of utilities that are trying to take steps to provide cheaper energy for its citizens and businesses, something's wrong.
Yeah. And it's so simple. It's so simple. And Laura, I remember when, and I hearken back to it, the governor of the state of Indiana says, hey, listen, a part of my next level plan is to change the narrative about who Indiana is so that we can attract business. But the mayor just brought up, you can't just change the narrative without fixing the problems. Laura, can you change? You're a teacher, Laura. You teach life sciences. Can you change the narrative without actually fixing the problems?
Well, it's alternative facts. And yeah, like in my earth science class, I show videos of the people that are like, well, wind is finite, or we're going to tax the sun, because those are things that they say, like, well, if we harness the wind for wind energy, there won't be enough wind. We're like, and I show them to my students, and then my students are like, did they actually say that? And I'm like, yeah, they actually said that. But this is why we need to learn these things so you don't grow up and say these things, because these are ridiculous.
No more wind. Yeah. That's a new one. I have not heard that one. Man. Yeah. And that's why we need, I think, a different, a wide range, right, of people representing Hoosiers, right? I love the fact that obviously, Jonathan, you have to be an attorney to be the attorney general, right? So that's a given. We understand that. But I think that's why it's so important that in our state house, in both our Senate and our house, that we have a wide range of representation. I think it is so important that the fact that you have a teacher commission and not one educator on the teacher commission. How do you have an education commission without an educator on it? Who's making the decisions and based on what? I think it's important that we have union folks run. I think we need more veterans in our state house, and more representation from who our state is and our needs. Because when we have, I feel like we need more women. Because when you increase those areas, the conversation changes and you bring nuances that we hadn't seen before. And that's why I applaud you, Laura, for running. And I applaud you, boss man. I mean, you know what? The Attorney General's office can use some personality. It really could. Okay, Laura, I'm gonna let you go first. Tell the people where they can find you so they can donate to your campaign, help you out. You're on the ballot in November. We're done with the primary. Tell them how they can help you out and where they can find you.
All right, so I have a Facebook page. It's just called Laura for Senate. That's just it. No last name, nothing fancy. Just Laura for Senate on my Facebook page. My website is a little more complicated. It's lfsforin18.com. And my Act Blue there's a link on my Laura for Senate Facebook page. The biggest thing you can do is you can go out and you can vote. Even if you're not in my district, there are teachers running all up and down the ballot. There are Democrats running all up and down the ballot. Don't just click, you can click straight Democratic ticket if you want, but
we encourage it. It.
You just go and you find those people, you read about them, you research them, you find them, you donate, you click that button to vote for them. But really, if the least that you can do is vote, you vote. You vote by mail, you wait in line to vote, you vote. That's the biggest thing.
That's what's up. Mr. Mayor, tell the people where they can find you.
Sunroom of my house right now.
I wasn't sure if you were like
for AG.
Wait a minute, I wasn't
Weinzapfel for AG.com.
Weinzapfel for AG.com. I wasn't sure if you was on witness protection and you didn't want to tell us. He was like, I'm sorry. Tell him again.
Weinzapfel for AG.com. And it's spelled like it sounds, believe it or not. WEINZAPFEL. Weinzapfel.
That is an interesting name, and I still struggle spelling it every time I have to type it, so I have to go and look it up. Because I'm the I before E before I thing is just messing me up.
Yeah, it's the name's Alsatian. So my relatives live in Alsace, France.
Oh.
Right on the German border, Swiss German border.
Oh.
So it's a Germanic name, but all my relatives are French.
Okay, well, just where the line was drawn. It just, like redlining. They just drew right through your family village. That's all.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Indiana's own Dana Black turned left. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for joining us. Good luck this weekend. You got a tough opponent, but I know that as Democrats, we're going to come on top no matter who wins. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope to continue to see you out here because you have a great personality, regardless of what happens, right? I wish you luck, but whatever happens, I hope to see you soon. Yeah, I hope to see you all the time because I think that you bring a fire and an energy to our party and a level of intelligence that we all need. And you bring that Southern Indiana moxie because y'all be acting like in Evansville we don't recognize and love y'all down there. Of course we do. We love Evansville. And I love Vanderburgh County and all my peoples down there. So thank you for coming on the show. Miss Laura, yo, you are fired, little woman. I tell you what, the fact that you have spoken on multiple occasions in this interview about how many young people that you have, that you see that are multilingual and English is not their first language is a clear indication that Cass County has a lot of diversity in Cass County, and we need to reach those communities and make sure that they are turning out for you. The Latino caucus needs to be on their way because we got to make sure that we get so that they understand what political power really is. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. All right. Before I go.
Thank you.
And before I go tonight, I want to just kind of highlight a couple of things. One thing. Y'all, my birthday's this weekend.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I was supposed to go to Mexico in July to celebrate my 50th birthday, the big 50, but Rona, she came in here and like a bad ex-girlfriend ruined everything. She ruined everything. You only turn 50 once unless you are really, really, really lucky. I don't even know if I want to be that lucky to see 50 again. But I'm very grateful. I got all my original parts, and with a little lubrication, they all work okay. So I'm happy to be turning 50. But as I stated, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. I have an opportunity to sit on the board of Trinity Haven. And they are, when they open, this will be the only residence in the entire state of Indiana, 92 counties, that will be housing LGBTQ plus youth who are at risk of being homeless. Now, let me explain why this is important. When you're 16, 17, 18 years old, you don't always have all of the life skills that you need to be successful in life. And what Trinity Haven will do is attempt to add structure to people who are already going through the most detrimental things, and that's their families turning them away. I have dedicated my 50th birthday to raising money to Trinity Haven. Yes, I sit on the board of Trinity Haven, but this is a valuable cause. It just so happens that A, my name is Dana. B, its last name is Black, so you kind of know where I'm sitting. And I got a unisex name, and I'm kind of a masculine chick, and I'm just hitting all the buttons when it comes to diversity. But more importantly, I understand what it is to be the other, and I understand what it is to be rejected. Not by my family, though. Not my family love me sometimes too much. But so join me on Sunday, June 14th. Forget about the other dude who's got a birthday on Sunday. The Orange Menace does not matter. Okay? Join me at 2:00. We're real close to my 50-50 goal of raising money for Trinity Haven. Join us for a Facebook-a-thon from 2 to 3. It will be nonpartisan. Please invite your friends. Tell them that, and party with me. Real talk. Come party with me. I'm turning 50. I'm turning 50. I am redefining old. Do y'all not understand this? I am redefining old. All right? Join me Sunday. So everybody enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the dinner on tomorrow night. Be sure to join all the constituency caucuses later. Have a cocktail, and we're going to have a DJ and a drag show and all of that. And then the convention is Saturday. I will see y'all there. Enjoy your weekend. Get ready, Democrats. Let's get fired up, and let's make sure that we send Curtis Hill out of here and send Miss Laura to the Senate. I'll holler at y'all in a couple of weeks. Peace.